So, you remember that conversation with Juhuan about foods that send us back in time? I've been thinking about it all day. Specifically, the taste of my mom's sourdough bread. It was always so incredible, warm from the oven on a Saturday morning. Even now, the smell of sourdough baking takes me right back there. I remember how we used to laugh a lot, see? Baking was never a quiet affair with us. And oh, the mess, flour everywhere. But that was part of the fun, right? We'd shape the dough, watch it rise, and then into the oven it would go. It took me a while to replicate that recipe, though. You know, I used to think it was all about the ingredients, the flour, the yeast. But it's more than that. It's about the love you pour into it, the patience you have while kneading, the anticipation as it bakes. It's such a satisfying feeling to recreate something from your childhood. And now I can't help but laugh thinking about our uni days, my struggle with the frozen pizza while all this time I had the secret of my mom's sourdough bread. Juwan's noodle saga too. Good times, man, good times. But hey, speaking of good times, guess what? We are planning a meteor sighting tonight. I bet the Seoul skyline would look absolutely stunning underneath a shower of meteors. Little lights dashing across the sky, so far yet so close. Imagine Yuna with her diving stories, Juwan with his camera, and guess who's bringing the food? Yep, your trusty friend Hyun and his sourdough, of course. Sourdough and meteors. What an unusual yet perfect combo, right? You remember the rooftop I was telling you about? The one that offers mesmerizing views? That's where we're headed. I know for a fact that the light pollution won't be much of a problem there. Even the idea of it is already making me so pumped up. You know what's funny? I was on the rocks of Gwanaksan Mountain today pulling off some rad dynamic moves. Aha! Felt like Spider-Man scaling the walls of towering skyscrapers. Gwanaksan, man, it's just a couple of bus rides away, but it's like entering a whole new world filled with climbers, fresh air, stunning views, and that unique sense of peace. Isn't it amazing how the urban humdrum seems light years away when you're up there? Juhuan and Yuna were there too, cheering me on to crush those sick moves. And Yuna? Oh, she wished she could climb as smooth as your boy here. Those words coming from ace climber Yuna, man. It felt like winning the cup in one of our old school football matches. Speaking of, the chat veered towards nostalgia in our football days. You remember how the streets of Seoul used to become our battleground? How we'd run, kick, and even fall, all just for the thrill of that one mighty goal. Heh, life's a bit like that street football game, isn't it? Different players, unexpected turns, and us trying to score our goals amidst it all. But, you know, just like we had a perfect team back then, we do now. Juwan, Yuna, and I, we're our own league, tackling life with an unyielding spirit, no pain, no gain, as the bouldering mantra goes. And while we might be occasionally insufferable, as Juwan puts it, we're inseparable and unbeatable, that's for sure. Guess our friendship is similar to a perfectly cooked dish, different elements coming together in a magical blend. Oh, and speaking of dishes, we are planning to meet up for a gourmet steak feast. Juwan suggested it, and knowing him, he'd probably already picked the perfect place. And you know me. How can I ever skip a chance to devour the deliciousness? I swear, if I could taste and savor my dreams, they'd taste just like a juicy, tender sous vide steak. Reliving memories, conquering mountains, planning feasts. Isn't it amazing how full a day can be? You know, isn't it amazing how some monuments are just timeless, standing tall and proud, through years, through ages, through centuries? They are like our grand oldies in rock-solid form, silent yet echoing a million stories with every stone, every brick that holds them together. Sumin, Gitai, and I went on an urban exploration this evening, our destination, the Grand Gyeongbokgung Palace. And let me tell you, this wasn't just your regular daytime visit. This was a nighttime exploration, one that added an all-new dimension to the majestic grandeur of the palace. As we walked those historic corridors, under the enigmatic gaze of the moon, the palace came to life in front of us. Each shadow, each whisper of the wind seemed to echo an era long gone, like a calligraphic scriptures painting a picture of the yesteryears. Isn't there something magical about walking the steps of kings and queens who once reigned from those very quarters? Now imagine navigating this history-filled network of structures at night. It's kinda like my baking experience, remembering the right temperature, timing each stage to perfection, and not to forget the constant thrill of what's emerging from the oven. With a twist, of course. Bake a bread wrong and you get a brick. Meandering lost in a palace maze. Well, that's a thrilling mini-adventure in itself. The grandeur of the palace was awe-inspiring, to say the least. I'll share those impressive shots I took, sort of like Juhuan's coding skills. My photography's improving, eh? Speaking of Juhuan, I'm pretty sure he'd have given the disgruntled look he reserves for my spaghetti sauce splatters, knowing we were playing maze in a historic palace at night. However, I'm certain he'd concede the palace had that similar aura of his coding marathons, the silent focus, the constant challenge, and the satisfaction of cracking it. And dancing onto our chat with Yuna, the universe might be conspiring against her dives. At least she's had her victory in the kitchen. Her gochujang crab stir-fry tempted me out of my pasta comfort zone, and boy, was that a delicious deviation. I can't help but appreciate how food has a way of transcending barriers, be it marine ones or pasta-biased ones. You know what's funny? I think we all have a spaghetti battle to fight deep down, a comforting routine that holds us in its warm embrace, making us a little shy towards any change. But then life throws a gochujang crab at us, or leads us into unexplored mazes of grand palaces at night, and makes us realize the thrill that sits quietly outside our comfort zones. Isn't it amazing how life keeps teaching us, surprising us and cheering us on in its own unique ways? Ah well, laughing reminiscences, the taste of victory in a new recipe, the thrill of the nighttime exploration. The day was as flavorful as it could get.